Hello there, this is Critical from Critical Media, just taking a look at the 2022 standard hardcover release of Batman the Detective. Yes, it's just called The Detective, and it comes to us from Tom Taylor, Andy Kubert, and doing the inks and colors, Sandra Hope and Brad Anderson, fellow Canuck, good man. And what we usually do at this channel is just give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across this book in the wild. So we go over the exterior, a little bit of the bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. Now, just before jumping in, this book did come out in April of 2021, so it's off the heels of death metal. No, you do not need to read death metal. I'm just bringing it up because basically DC, with that story's conclusion, announced that now any story can be Elseworlds. So now an artist and a writer are no longer tied to affixing a story to a certain kind of canon or universe. Now they can just borrow elements from it and just tell a damn good tale. So, at least back to this idea here. The exterior has a lot of a red, white, and black motif. So, this is just from the first issue. And yeah, it does extend upon the spine. Has a nice aesthetic. I like the lettering, that's for sure. And surprisingly, the exterior has a lot of pop to it. Yes, it just uses panels from within. But yeah, I definitely appreciate that it's more lifted than usual, that's for sure. Now, in terms of the exterior, sorry, the interior, just underneath the dust jacket, we have once again the same image from the first issue, but a much more prominent spine. So, yep, I love the coloring there. It just uses a cell from within one of the panels of the story. So, very on point there. Now, in terms of bonus material, yes, this is a standard hardcover. So, surprisingly, or should I say unsurprisingly, there's not much outside of some covers and a little bit of sketches. So, the one thing I do appreciate about this book is that Andy was all over it. He wouldn't let anybody else touch this story, even down to the variants. So, yeah, this is all Andy Kubert. I love all the Kuberts, and I love the next generation. Even Brad Anderson went to the Kubert school as well. So you can definitely see why they're like a match made in heaven, those two. But yeah, very on point. I can't get over it. And you can almost tell that Andy was reusing some elements from other ideas. Because you can kind of see moments of, Dark Knight Returns, or most importantly, I would say, it borrows a lot from the Son of the Batman storyline. So there's like Damien, Son of the Bat, I think is what it was called. But yeah, outside of that, you're just getting some, a little bit of sketch work. Not too much though, like literally a page. And that's pretty much it in terms of bonus material. But it is a strong binding that feels good. And it's not too long a story. There's not really much in terms of two-page spreads or whatnot. And like I mentioned, because this is now like this new mantra of DC, they're borrowing elements from all different places. So, like I mentioned earlier, yeah, that same Damien Summon of the Batman, yeah, that same trench coat styling to the future Batmans. So, definitely appreciate that. And I guess, yeah, it kind of has hints from all over. So, there's a little bit of, Dark Knight Returns, a little bit of Detective 27, sorry, Batman Detective 27, like this guy here. The one where it's more about him being a detective than being an action hero. Yeah, even notes of the new 52 stories, like Court of Owls or whatnot. Those goggles, that's a clear tell that's from Court of Owls. You could tell, and I remember seeing promotional art of Andy working on variants. That was definitely from there. But nonetheless, another nice little touch just before we get into art and plot points is that the paper grain is very unique. Like, well, I shouldn't say unique, but I'm very surprised in 2022 that it has a nice grain to it. So it's uncoated, it's not gloss. And I definitely appreciate that because, yeah, it helps it not bounce off too much light. I like reading my books outside too. So, nice little touch that they went with this kind of grain. Very appreciative. So, anywho, art and plot points. What's the story about? Well, as I mentioned, it's its own Elseworlds. Batman is a little bit older, so that's why he's not so much action-centric. You will get action in this, but that shouldn't be the draw you're looking for. But in a nutshell, the story could be summarized by just this panel alone. Simply, someone is taking the lives I've saved. Yes, there's some sort of organization out there targeting Batman's, rescuees. And in that light, they're trying to, I don't know, they're just going after them and for their own reason. I don't want to say too much because I would rather you guys lift the story yourselves. But yeah, Batman goes to Europe to investigate because that's where the story predominantly takes place. Several nations of Europe, but very few in North America. That's pretty much the most you're going to get from that part. And yeah, throughout the story, you're given your own Robin-esque character in Squire. Another story they kind of borrow from, the Batman Inc. story. So yeah, Knight and Squire. This is a new Squire. I forget. I think her name is Amina Eluko. I love her so much. She reminds me so much of Carrie Kelly in that she's British, but I'm referring to more so the fact that she has a lot of vernacular that attaches herself to that story, or should I say attaches her to this environment. Just like how Carrie Kelly used a lot of, colloquialisms that only their future has. She uses a lot of terms that I guess folks across the pond would use. But I love her spunkiness. I love her veracity, and I also love her, I guess, her just straight up courageousness. Like she stands up to so many different things. You don't see her get down too much, but she's definitely imposing and intimidating. That's the point. But anywho, it doesn't need too much Batman lore for you to hold on to. It's appreciated that you would know it. But the story does give you all the proper pieces that just to understand it. Like it'll have like Henry Ducard or Henri Ducard, sorry, who's if you know a lot about Batman, the guy who taught him how to manhunt, almost a lot of his hunting and tracking skills. So yeah, I'd say if you need to know somebody, sure, it would probably be him. But yeah, it gives its own little internalized background of it. And I highlight this particular page just to once again highlight Andy Kubert's work. Like I love this particular one in general. Like man oh man. This is all three of them. This is Andy, this is Sandra, and this is Brad working together on this one because man oh man, the lighting, the lines, the pose, perfection. That's what I love about the Kuberts. They're never afraid to try new poses and new designs. Something I find a lot of artists are kind of drawing back from. So I definitely appreciate that the Kuberts keep that going. But yeah, all in all, very mature story, that's for sure. Not for your kids. A lot of blood, a lot of violence, no swearing, but yeah, if anything, a very, very mature take. Let's just put it that way. I love this particular guy here, even though he's in it for like a page. But yeah, it even harkens to a little bit of that, Neil Adams era Batman. Yep. This particular page especially. But man, oh man. All in all, this is definitely an intriguing story. It's definitely worth the read. I definitely recommend it for anybody in that sense. But man, oh man. Like, take it in however which way you can. It's nice that they finally released this in a hardcover. It took a while. I think the series wrapped in like the fall of 21. And yeah, it only now came out this year. So, hey, I'm just glad they came to it. Better late than never, right? But all in all, this is definitely a strong title. I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts and opinions just in the comments down below. Nonetheless, I could always do more Batman, that's for sure. There's way too much Batman over there right now. But yeah, it's not so much about me. Just like to hear your thoughts and opinions again. And hey, I'll see you guys in the next video. And y'all folks take care.